One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. I'm here on the campus of Stanford University and I'm joined by Patrick Dunkley. Patrick's current position is the Deputy Athletics Director and Senior University Counsel. And you've been here at Stanford for almost 17 years and then working here in athletics for 7 years. You spent a big part of your career in the legal industry, whether that be private or here on campus and outside of athletics. And I want to know how that background in law kind of prepared you for what to me looks like a career where you're progressing through athletics in an upward trajectory in athletics. How did your background prepare you for this part of your career?
Yeah, so when I came into law, I had not really thought about college athletics, and so there was sort of a pivot that occurred, after I got here to Stanford. But my job as a lawyer, I started off as a litigator in a big firm. Did that for about 10 years, and I worked in-house for a Fortune 50 company as head employment counsel there. And then I came to Stanford, where I was a business lawyer for 10 years. And it surprised me a little bit when I came into intercollegiate athletics that a lot of the skills that I had learned along the way were really building blocks towards the job that I have now. There's a lot of, in being a lawyer, you have to be able to take an issue or a situation and see it from all sides. I mean, basically have a 360-degree view of a problem, able to develop strategies in how you solve problems. You find yourself trying to make sure that you build relationships and you collaborate, and you have to become a subject matter expert on a lot of different things as a lawyer. And so all of those things are skill sets that I've found have really served me well in my role here in athletics.
Can you briefly tell us about some of the differences you see? And from my outside looking in perspective, the pressure of working for a university in terms of legal counsel and the pressure of working in athletics, they're probably two different animals, but tell me about the differences in those two.
Sure. So I'd say the level of pressure is probably about the same. I mean, they're both very, very demanding jobs. I think the big difference is when I was in the general counsel's office, I had a number of clients across campus. I'd be doing work for the president's office, the provost's office, the CFO, the management company, which manages our endowment, Office of Technology Licensing, and on and on. So I had a bunch of different clients. Whereas in athletics, I have one client. But when I worked in the general counsel's office, the clients I did not have as in-depth of an experience with each of them just because I wasn't embedded in those offices. Whereas here, I'm a part of the office. I understand the client at a completely different level. And sometimes, my role is really a dual role. So probably about 40% of the work I do, I would categorize as legal work,
right,
and 60% of it is non-legal, sort of administrative work. And so my role is even a very different role in that I'm not practicing law, right, from beginning of day to end of day, each day of the week anymore. It's really a lot more of a mix of work, and that's very exciting for me.
And speaking on that mix, your title in alone is Deputy Athletics Director and Senior University Counsel. Do you report to two different people? How does that structure work?
I do. So as Deputy Athletics Director, I report to the Athletics Director. As Senior University Counsel, I report to the General Counsel of the university. So I have a dual reporting relationship.
And I guess that's smart when you talk about legal in terms of keeping the university abreast of what's happening here in athletics and those type things.
That's right. Yeah. So on the legal side, again, a big part of my job is whether it's litigation or contracts or risk management. There's those issues. There's a need to kind of harmonize those things with what's going on at other parts of the university as well. And so that's one reason why I report to the general counsel's office because it's much more of an institution. There's a broader institutional interest there, and on the athletic side, it's really much more the department itself.
Right. Well, that definitely gives you an interesting perspective, and I guess if I'm in the athletics director chair, we consider you a major asset and benefit to having an department because of your scope of responsibilities and stuff you've seen and done. That kind of brings me to my next question. You're over compliance. You work a lot with compliance here in athletics. How does somebody in compliance in today's environment in college athletics stay abreast to what's going on a national level, from lawsuit or anything that can happen to conference level, and still handle the day-to-day minutia of Nike signs on a poster and those small things that you have to worry about here on campus? How do you stay abreast of the wide range of things that tie to compliance in the athletics industry?
So it's a big umbrella that, and a lot of things fit under it. From the standpoint of compliance or legal issues.
Right.
I know it's going to sound like a shameless plug, but I start every day reading the D1 ticker.
Okay. Hey,
because
it's a great resource.
I find that it does a good job of getting a lot of information. I mean, one of the things that's really important for me is I have far more to do in any given day than I could actually get done, and so anything that increases my efficiency, I consider that a win. And so starting off with the D1 ticker usually gets me pointed in the direction of the things that are occurring on any given day. And then I do a fair amount of reading of other publications, talk to people at the conference, talk to people, to colleagues in the athletics department here on things that they're hearing, and talk to people at other institutions. But there's no any resource that I can find that's helpful to keep me abreast. I certainly try and avail myself of it. And then it's trying to synthesize all of that information in a way that I can then share it with my colleagues. I mean, it's great for me to know it, but it's really important for my colleagues throughout the athletics department, and to the extent that it has a broader institutional reach, my colleagues across campus, to be able to share that information with them as well, so that we're making sure that everyone who has a need to know understands the trends and directions that things are going.
I assume you go through the resources, you gather as much information as possible, you inform the athletics director, or you inform who you need to inform, so they're educated going into meetings. And the concept of priority management, right? You ingest all this information and have to discern on what's important and what to make a priority. In your previous life, that seems like that had to be pretty hard when you handled things for the president and for major constituents on campus, but now you handle things for athletics, and it seems like the role of things coming down the pike that you see in the ticker every morning are constantly growing and constantly in a state of change. Do you have any advice on priority management for anybody who works in athletics or any industry? How do you prioritize the priorities?
It's a challenge. You had mentioned earlier about, kind of the big picture things and then the minutia. And, I think sometimes it becomes an exercise of really trying to discern between the important and the urgent, right? And a lot of times there are things that are urgent, but they're not important. And I think sometimes we get so bogged down in putting out the fires that we don't get a chance to take a look at the big picture. And so, I think it's important to set aside some time every day where you are focusing on those big picture issues, the strategy issues, the major policy issues. We're in a place in college athletics right now that I think is unlike it has been maybe ever. I mean, there's each day there are major whether it's a court ruling or some legislation or a conference determination. There are lots of things going on every day that we need to make sure that we stay abreast of. And I think it's really important to take some time out of every day where you're focusing on those things, because if you don't, you get so caught up in in putting out the little fires, the urgent but not important things, that the important things, will end up becoming the urgent, and they'll end up being bigger things. And so for me, that means, carving out some time every morning. For me, I'm a morning person, I'm at my most effective in the morning. So that's the time for me to take time to, dedicated time to address those kinds of things and set some direction and priorities for things that are important for that day. Understanding what the new pronouncements or new issues are that are coming up, and disseminate that information to the people who need to know it.
All right. Well, this has been excellent information. The look inside of your role and what you've done, what you do, and in my opinion, what you're going to do in the future has been an interesting conversation. And I appreciate you joining me here on One Question.
Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
That was Patrick Dunkley. He is currently the Deputy Athletics Director and Senior University Counsel at Stanford University, with the hat tip to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.